I'm fully vaccinated, relatively young, asymptomatic, physically active man who just tested negative on PCR test, and I still have to quarantine. Hello, I'm Dr. Sam, this is Dr. Sam's Health, and today I would like to talk about travel in the times of COVID, which is, I assume, a very controversial topic these days. Some people might take it as a very sensitive topic, and that is why I would like to make my disclaimers right away. First of all, I'm a medical doctor, but I don't give any kind of medical advice over internet, over YouTube, or on my website, drsamshealth.com. By the way, check it out. The second disclaimer is I'm gonna be talking about travel, I'm gonna be talking about COVID. I'm not an expert in epidemiology or infectious disease or virology. I merely express my experiences and my opinions, and these opinions do not necessarily represent the opinions of my regulatory bodies, my colleges, my universities, my discipline. I'm a psychiatrist. And finally, I was a little bit upset a couple of days ago when I returned to Ontario, to Toronto, and something happened at the airport. I will tell you about that. I don't want this video to be perceived as a rant or unjust criticism. I will do my very, very best to moderate my expressions here, but I think that I was subject to some unfairness or injustice, and I will explain why in a bit, but I just don't want it to be taken as a medical opinion or as a professional take on things. It's just merely my opinions, and again, I do not encourage anybody to follow my footsteps or to do anything that goes against the laws, bylaws, policies, public health interest, and so on. I think that we're clear, and I hope you understand what I mean by everything that I just said. So I'm just sharing my experiences. Let's talk about them. 13 days ago, I embarked on this trip to Dominican Republic to have a very well-deserved rest. And I must say that, when I say it's a very well-deserved rest, I mean it. I was born in the Soviet Union. We do not have much of a self-acknowledgement type of activities there. We don't take care of ourselves. We are trained or we're indoctrinated to think about the society, the government, the people you're working for, rather than ourselves. And when I say, being that person from this society, that it was a well-deserved rest, it was really well-deserved. It's a unique case. I've been working for 2.5 years pretty much without any breaks. I have had quite a few things that I have accomplished, but also because of COVID, I couldn't travel. I had canceled so many trips. I didn't really have a chance to have a decent vacation to disconnect from, not the reality, but from my work life. And quite frankly, I felt quite exhausted and at the point that I would burn out if I continued working. So I booked my trip approximately 2 months ago. I felt that I really need it. It takes a lot of effort for me to organize the coverage for my clinical duties, for my patients. I was not able to even completely disconnect from all my duties, but thank you, doctors that are covering for me. I was able to take some time off. And around that time, as soon as I booked my trip, my flights, my hotel, within 2-3 weeks, we had this Omicron emerging, and our Prime Minister said that it's not a good time to travel. So I don't know, when will it be a good time to travel? I actually completely disagree with that, because I've seen a lot of people traveling without any repercussions, without any issues, and I felt quite stupid because I've been working, and I've been burning out. You would call me a hero, which, by the way, I don't feel I'm a hero. I have been just a public servant working in the mental health industry, and I've just been doing whatever I can to help my patients, and I would be going to the hospital and doing my clinical duties. There's nothing exceptional about it. Yes, I would be at a higher risk of being exposed to COVID, but I don't find it to be particularly dangerous thing for somebody like myself, because I'm a relatively young man. I'm in my 40s. I don't have any comorbidities. I'm physically active. I've got relatively normal body weight. So I don't think I would have any issues with even if I got COVID. But nevertheless, returning to the whole idea that it's not a wise thing to travel. I don't think that, given all these new variants, all these new lockdowns, new measures that do not seem to be like particularly helpful, that we will get out of this rut ever. I made a video about Omicron variant. I said that I hope that this Omicron variant will be the end of this pandemic, but I'm sorry. We have to stop doing lots of things. I don't think that lockdowns are helpful. I don't think that we have to change our plans significantly because of this virus. It became endemic already. We literally see, and research shows, that lots of things that we're doing in order to prevent this virus from spreading are not really working. We have to learn how to live with it. And this trip in part was dictated by this desire to live with it. And actually, when I was on my vacation, I was watching YouTube, and one of the things I watched was Jordan Peterson talking about It's Time to Live. I think that was his podcast or his video. And I must say it was a unique and perfectly timed YouTube video of Jordan Peterson that I almost completely agreed with. Nevertheless, I've been preparing for this trip, and I must say that traveling in the time of COVID is very stressful. Everything is unreliable. You have to get tested, or you don't have to get tested. There is a lot of uncertainty around travel. So first of all, I was not sure if I have to get the PCR test. I booked it in advance because it looked like I might not get the chance to get this test if I don't book it in advance. Then it turned out that I don't need a PCR test to travel to Dominican Republic, which was in a way a relief, but at the same time I know that if you miss your PCR test, you might be flagged as positive. So I had to take steps to do something about that. I tested myself in the hospital where I work, and I was negative. I went to the airport, and with all this travel, you need to fill out lots of forms. There are multiple lines and multiple checks, and all the time you are not sure if you're gonna fly. They were effectively, in the week preceding my flight, they were canceling lots of flights in the United States and Canada, and including, I was flying to Punta Cana, but there were flights canceled to Santo Domingo, to Samana. So, every morning, every day, I was not sure whether I'm gonna fly within the next 2-3 days or not. And it already felt quite stressful. When I arrived to the airport, I can't say it was a disaster. It wasn't too bad, but it was busier than usual. There were multiple lines. Conveyor belt didn't work. Actually, my Uber drive was not even canceled. Just didn't happen. I just had to urgently find a cab to drive to the airport, to get to the airport. I've done that. Then there was one line, another one, the third one. It was like 5 or 6 lines in order to get to the plane, and that was a little bit too much. And you can tell that people were actually very exhausted in the airport. People are stressed. There was a lot of anger. There were a lot of uncertainty again, anxiety, travel anxiety, and people were lashing out at each other from time to time. But nevertheless, I arrived to the place of destination, to the resort, and there I was actually finally able to relax. It was a very good trip, even given all this self-isolation thing, given all the uncertainty, stressors. It was a very good trip because everybody was tested when they were arriving to this resort, I assume, because people had to travel, so nobody had to wear masks, and it was just amazing because it felt actually very weird not to wear a mask in public for almost 2 weeks. I did enjoy some sun. I did enjoy some good cuisine there. There were very nice restaurants. I met my old medical school friend Mikola and his nephew. We had good time, and I was able to not completely but partially disconnect from my worries, from my work, and I must say that I love my work, and I was actually longing to come back pretty much all of this week. Speaking of returning, in order to return to Canada, you have to fill out again some questionnaires, some forms online. Arrive Can, I think it's called. But you also have to get PCR test. And if you assume that if you're getting a positive test, you not only you cannot fly, you will be quarantined, and effectively you would be sent to very nice, but effectively some sort of a quarantine prison at the resort where I were, but you wouldn't be able to go to the beach, so it would be, it's kind of stressful when you have to get tested, and then it takes them like 2 days to produce the results. So for this 2 days prior to departure, I was actually quite stressed, because if by an odd chance I would test positive, that would mean that I would stay for like 11 to 14 days in Dominican Republic without even access to the beach, which was the whole point of going there, and I would have to change a lot of things in my schedule. It would be very difficult to return to work and so on. So that was very stressful, I must say, and that's one of the things that I don't think are necessary. But okay, I went through that. Then I'm flying back, and you have to wear masks again. By the way, I've been told like 8 to 10 times at least in the business class of a pretty much plane that goes on vacation destinations that I would be fined if I don't wear a mask, or just, it was just ridiculous. I mean, I'm paying you for a flight. I don't need this kind of reminders every 10 minutes. And one of this, like, we were watching some movie. By the way, I watched a very nice movie there too, No Time to Die. I rewatched it. It was actually a very, very good movie. I had some worries about, people taking away a lot of good stuff from James Bond franchise, and this one was a very good movie. I'm not sure if it will be the last in this franchise, but it was a very great tribute to all the James Bonds from the past, and was the last one was Daniel Craig, and he did a good job. Everybody there did a good job, and it was a very good movie. It had some paternal stuff there, lots of things. I highly recommend watching it. And the second movie was The Last Duel of Ridley Scott, and it was also an amazing movie. It had very good agenda, and it had very good cinematography, because they managed to tell the same story from the standpoint of 3 different people who were part of this story, using the same footage effectively. And it was beautiful how the same footage can be used to convey different messages. But I'm digressing. I wasn't playing. They told me multiple times and not that they did tell me specifically, but they announced it, that you would be fined, you would be fined, you would be fined. Sorry, I'm on the plane, I'm wearing a mask, I don't need to hear that. I'm paying for this flight, so that's the part where my rant starts. I'm so tired of being treated like I'm a total idiot who doesn't know anything in the life. I'm not a child, I'm a practicing physician. I think I have enough, social weight to actually show that, I'm MD, PhD. I think, I know how to wear a mask. Nevertheless, arriving to Toronto Pearson Airport, going through all these checks, and lucky me, I get this random mandatory testing, which is absolutely logical. Actually, I don't mind being tested, but the problem is that if you are selected for testing, you have to self-quarantine until you receive the results of the test, which, in my opinion, is not only illogical, it is also unfair. So, first of all, everybody who flies to Canada needs to have PCR test done within 72 hours of their boarding the plane. So I had mine done, it was negative. The second thing, again, I'm vaccinated, I've got all the boosters, everything you can. I don't have any symptoms of COVID, and I don't see a point of testing me other than for some research purposes. Literally, if it is a public health measure, if you prevent people from coming to the country with COVID, you would want to test every single person, and you would want to quarantine every single person. Instead, they have this random testing, and a bunch of people, I assume more than half of people, are not getting tested, and they just proceed into their home, to their work, wherever, even if, and they have the same probability or risk of bringing COVID with them as I do. But I was selected, so I had to be tested, and while I'm waiting for the test results, which is 3 to 5 days, and I assume it might take longer given the situation because they are overloaded, overwhelmed, I have to self-isolate for no reason. And that's why I said in this preview of this video that I'm a healthy person, relatively young, physically active, vaccinated to the brim, recently tested, and that was negative, and it was a PCR test which I paid for. So why do I need to self-isolate? There is no point. And I tried to talk to somebody in the airport, like they have this red jackets, and this gentleman in a very patronizing fashion told me that you chose to travel in the middle of pandemic. You had this as a consequence. And so pretty much I've been told that I've been told that I've been punished for daring to travel. And quite frankly, I feel that it's a very inappropriate thing to say to somebody like myself, because I have been this hero for 2.5 years during this pandemic. I didn't miss a single day at work. I worked hard. I was covering for my colleagues. I've been working in the emergency room, and now some dude telling me that I chose to travel? Like, seriously. So the options I had were either to submit to this procedure or to pay a fine, $6,000, or if I refused, I've been told I would be arrested. I don't know what I would be arrested for, just because it's not a criminal offense, I assume. I'm not breaking any laws, effectively. There is some sort of a mandatory testing, but nevertheless, I don't want to get into this, and it was definitely not my hill to die on. So obviously I had to go through this procedure, and now I'm self-isolating in my apartment, my condo, and I don't know what to say. I feel that this procedure is unnecessary and unfair, and quite frankly, if you have been watching my videos, likely you've noticed that I've been very reserved in what I'm saying, but this particular procedure is absolutely unjustifiable and absolutely illogical. If you're doing it for research purposes, don't make people self-isolate. If you're doing it as a measure to contain the virus, you have to make everybody isolate, and you have to test everybody. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Now I'm stuck, and being a responsible citizen and a physician, I literally cannot go back to work because I'm a doctor, and if it turns out that I do have a virus, which is very, very unlikely, it would be a disaster. Also, even if I don't have a virus, doing something like this would be I'm not sure what it's the opposite of virtue signaling, but it was sending a message that I don't care about public health matters, and I do care about public health matters. So that was my experience with Public Health Ontario and with travel. Would I do it again? Definitely yes. It was definitely worth it. I really needed it, and to be very transparent, actually, it's one of the rules for physicians in Ontario is that it's our ethical responsibility to take care of ourselves, to prevent burning out, to recognize the signs of burning out, and to take care of yourself prior to you becoming essentially a bad doctor or malpracticing doctor or something like that, making medical errors. We don't want this to happen, and I really was really exhausted. 2 weeks ago. So I'm happy that I went on my trip. I met my good friend. I mingled with some people. It was a nice time to just chill on the beach, enjoy some sun, get some vitamin D. So I'm happy that I went there. I'm happy that I was able to come back without any major issues, without contracting the virus. I did follow all the rules and regulations, and I was unfortunate to be randomly selected. By the way, this random for some reason always happens to me. There is not a single flight when some random testing wouldn't occur to me. But now I have to face the reality. The reality is that I was selected for that. So I'll wait for the test results. Meanwhile, I'll be trying to do some, I guess, prison workouts. I'll do the parts of my work that I can do online via virtual meetings. I have some research component to my work. That's likely what I will focus on. And in terms of, I've got actually a funny situation with nutrition because I've got lots of frozen meat, and I don't feel like ordering any kind of Uber Eats stuff because again, it has to be contactless in some ideal world, and the foods that they offer are mostly junk foods, and I just don't feel like doing this. So what I'm gonna do, likely I will go on a diet because I obviously gained some weight while I was on my vacation, and maybe I will even try to lose 10 kilos in 10 days, as I was kind of alluding to a while ago. Nevertheless, that is pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I hope that my rant was not too much of a rant. These are my emotions, my feelings, my experiences, and thank you so much for watching. Check out my website, drsamshealth.com. I've got my blog there, some tools for weight loss, for like some nutritional information. I've got my blog there too. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video, make comments, leave any kind of messages. All kinds of interactions are more than welcome. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And once again, thank you for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful time. All the very best. Bye.